And I feel like those same people that were hating are gonna play that game, and guess what? They're gonna love it.
Yeah, I ain't playing it.
So they can be mad.
Should not have said that.
Somebody shouldn't have let her say that.
What is up, space pirates? This is your admiral, the endlessly edgy Dr. Disaster, and one of the lessons that really needs to be soaked up by a ton of AAA developers is that if you are going to be spending hundreds of millions of dollars on making a video game, then you need to maximize your potential audience for the game so that it's possible to make back your money invested.
So you're telling me there's a chance? Yeah!
Oh yes.
Everything about this game should have been pandering to people like me, but they had to wokeify it. They had to completely alienate people like me. This is what the corporations don't understand, man. They just let these people do this. I think it's on purpose because they're all globalist commies trying to destroy all the cultures so everything will be cheaper, so they get a cheaper price whenever they buy everything. But it's got the anime visuals. It's got 1980s nostalgia. It's space and aliens and shit and like jukeboxes. Like, this is my kind of shit. But they made it gay.
Yeah, yeah. There is definitely every opportunity for a studio to accomplish this, and no, the secrets to broadening one's audience is not simply to throw as many minorities and women characters as possible into a game, thinking that that suddenly creates an opportunity for an untapped audience of people who are waiting to supposedly see themselves in a game and thinking that they will swoop in and buy it now. The people that were not buying games before might vocalize how much they love when a studio does this, but that does not meaningfully change their spending habits. Most of them will only pay that studio back with praise. No, the best way to maximize an audience is by making...
Yeah, for every one time that they give money to Naughty Dog, they're gonna make 1,000 posts about it.
Characters that the vast majority of the gaming community want to be, or make those characters something that the vast majority of the audience wants to look at. In other words, don't make bald-headed boss girl characters with an ugly sneer perpetually etched onto their face like they did here with Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet.
It's that, like, whatever millennial culture, drama student attitude. I fucking hate it.
You are one ugly mother.
Motherfucker. Just imagine if, instead of the intentionally ugly female character they were using in this game, they decided to...
Oh, they're making a statement about beauty standards.
...with someone like Nathan Drake from their...
And then you see the actor guy who's obviously a recognizable actor, and it just takes me out of it, man.
Uncharted franchise.
Up there at the top.
Or Joel from The Last of Us. Or hell, if you want a female character, then Ellie.
And she's an actor too. I recognize her from Shameless.
From The Last.
And now I recognize the black Asian chick as a celebrity that says you're gonna play it and you're gonna like it. Yeah, whatever.
Of Us would have been a huge upgrade.
She said love it.
If you want her to be an Asian version of a character like that, then
that guy.
Sure, nobody cares, go for it, but with the proper protagonist in place, Intergalactic might have seemed interesting, but instead, Naughty Dog chose the path of most resistance by making this character bald and nasty looking, banking on the hopes that the traditional gaming crowd would be replaced by the new...
See, that's a good shot. Some people knew what they were doing.
Feminist audience that they are trying to cultivate. Things have seemingly not gone as planned in that department when they released their announcement trailer for this game, the Game Awards in December of 2024. Well, take a look at the ratio for this turd on the official PlayStation YouTube channel. They got ratioed at a damn near 3-to-1 clip. It turns out that intentionally making a character ugly does not inspire them to love a game's concept. Instead, the gaming community's reaction is pretty much...
Oh, I can't wait. I can't
And
wait
that
for it to
brings
come
me
out.
to this
If it ever comes out.
news here. An analyst who is a former Naughty Dog developer is now talking about the great length that he expects the studio still has to go through in order to make Intergalactic playable, and how they are going to have to fix something moving forward so that games don't take so long to make at Naughty Dog. Obviously, the massive time that they have spent on Intergalactic means that the budget is ridiculous. And my contention is that if you are going to commit to massive development cycles like this, then for a studio as large and well known as Naughty Dog, that actually could work, but not while also intentionally pissing off your audience and causing many of us to look at their work and go,
"Suit yourself, queer."
Fire all the feminists, fire all the women. Feminists including men, not just women. So fire all the feminists and all the women, all the wokies. Just walk in and say a bunch of slurs, and if anybody gets offended, fire them. What else could you do to test people on whether or not they should be working there?
Alright, me hearties, in order to understand the context of what we are going to be reading about in a minute here, it must be pointed out that Naughty Dog was long ago on a legendary tear where they released a lot of really great games in a relatively short period of time.
So many corporations used to do this. I actually wrote an article about this. How in the 2000s we were getting like sometimes 20 games a year from one studio, or not one studio, but like one company, like Ubisoft or EA. They were just shitting them all out, and there was a lot of gems. Half of it was shit, but I mean, now they don't even take risks, and everything's just kind of the same, and it all fails the same, and it all costs the same.
The original Uncharted, for example, came out in 2007, Uncharted 2 came out in 2009, Uncharted 3 came out in 2011, and The Last of Us was released in 2013. Those are 4 extremely popular and well-loved games in a roughly 6-year period. Uncharted 4 came out 3 years after The Last of Us in 2016.
How do games take so fucking long to make? It honestly can't be that hard to make a game, even that looks this great. If Expedition 33 can do it, if Baldur's Gate can do it, I just don't understand.
Uncharted: The Lost Legacy, a standalone expansion of Uncharted 4, came out in 2007, but since then, we have only seen The Last of Us 2, all the way back in 20.
All they need to do is just make PlayStation 3 games. Literally make games for the PlayStation 3 again and just release them now on all of the major consoles like PS5, PS6, whatever. But every company needs to do this.
7 years after the first game's
Save so much money.
And The Last of Us 2.
People are mostly playing games from the 360 and early Xbox One era anyway.
While successful from a purely monetary perspective, left a pretty sour taste in a lot of people's mouths, and I contend that it caused a lot of reputational damage for the studio. It's well known as a classic bait and switched game where the beloved protagonist from the original game, Joel, gets killed off and replaced by the now lesbian character Ellie because it came out during peak woke. A lot of people bought that game as a knee-jerk reaction because they loved the first one so much, but it's worth noting that while the first game has sold around 37 million copies, the second is estimated to have sold around a third of that figure, at somewhere around...
It fell into the sequel trap, where the sequel is just not as good as the first game, because it got corporatized. They got too big for their britches, made too much money, wanted even more money, bigger and better, and we're gonna have to put a message in it because it's so big that it's affecting culture. So we have to affect culture how we want to affect culture, and not accidentally make a game for the chuds. No, we wouldn't want that.
10 to 12 million units. People have now had over 6 years to stew over the fact that this studio got one over on them with that game's bait and switch, and despite all the game journalists claiming that it was just a vocal minority who hated the wokeification of The Last of Us, it turns out that last year, when the second season of the franchise's TV show released, which featured the first part of the story from the second game, well, the audience turned on the show big time. It was savage on Rotten Tomatoes and other review aggregator sites by the audience, and viewership fell off a freaking cliff because killing off Joel in such a way is such a wretched and gut-wrenching story decision. It was received so poorly that this TV show, which the showrunners were insisting at the time would need at least 4 seasons to tell the full story, they trimmed it down now so that it will have finished in 3 seasons, and Naughty Dog studio head Neil Druckmann left the TV show and went back to his gaming studio.
I am a zombies fan. I love all things zombies. I watched the first episode of The Last of Us and I was completely out on it. And I watched all of Z Nation. So I can watch some bad zombie shows. And I just couldn't.
Seemingly pushed out. In other words, the picture I am trying to paint is one where Naughty Dog really needs a big win. They haven't released a single new game on the PS5 generation of consoles, and most likely by the time Intergalactic is ready, the PS6 will be out. Their budget is likely incredibly high for this game. Speculation and estimates based on the year's work.
Is it gonna be a Beyond Good and Evil 2 situation? Is this game even gonna come out?
On the game has it at somewhere between 300 million or even upwards of a staggering 600 million.
It would be Concord 10?
Based on some analyst opinion. Anyhow, with all of that in mind, let's have a peek at what they are talking about with the game in this article here from Games Radar. It says here, the last thing Naughty Dog released was in 2024, and it was the developers' The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered. To the former
Wasn't even
The
a real
Last
game.
of Us and Uncharted series designer Benson Russell, that's a problem. Now a game development consultant, Russell recommends his former employer spare its next game from the prolonged development period it's accustomed. And look, all I'm saying is that if they want to take their sweet ass time and try to perfect things, then that could be okay, as long as they also don't intentionally alienate parts of the audience. But when you do both,
You're gonna have to alienate the part of the audience that's insane. Trans community, they're gonna bitch about it, but fuck them. Look at Harry Potter.
then that is a major issue. But reading on, it says, Naughty Dog's upcoming sci-fi adventure Intergalactic, The Heretic Prophet, has now been in production for 6 years, while the game doesn't yet have a release date. By the time it finally launches, we could be trudging towards the PS6 generation, which is why Russell says in a new interview he thinks Naughty Dog's lethargic release calendar is absolutely not sustainable. He says about the developer, they're one of the key stakeholders that gets PlayStation sold right. So, when you think about it, they have not put an original IP out on this platform. The only thing they've done is The Last of Us remake. Russell guesses the Heretic Prophet's protracted production period is the result of another Last of Us 2 situation, his term for Naughty Dog's eagerness to map a concise story to overstuffed gameplay. It might need to be edited in that regard now, as
it needs to be edited in the regard of not being woke bullshit. But it's too late. It's already ingrained all the way into the design and the characters. There's nothing they can do. They dug their graves. Now they can lie in it.
the Heretic Prophet heads toward,
And lying they will do.
its 7th year of development, Russell reflects on the industry-wide trouble of zombified production periods. The biggest titles reveal a small outbreak of developers dragging their feet. GTA 6 is a decade overdue. Fable has been delayed to 2027 after being announced in 2020. The Max Payne 1 and 2 remake has been under construction for 4 years and counting, and so
I didn't even know that was happening
I
still.
genuinely think these 7-year projects, you can get them back down to 5, Russell says. I think you could at
Need to be
least
shorter
cut
than
2
that.
years off them, if not maybe a little more.
Yeah, they need to 1 year, 2 years to get a game. It doesn't have to be the same one in the franchise.
Just by defining yourself, getting that North Star solid right in the beginning, and it's not a difficult thing to do. Otherwise, Russell argues, developers risk making a mess of their games with team changes, technical changes, and the unavoidable frustration of starting over.
Yeah, and culture changes over time. It flows over a decade. And when it takes a decade to make a game, the culture of when you started and when you finish is completely different. The social media culture, the gaming culture, we got new console generations coming about.
And I think a lot of this phenomenon where large studios are getting tons of money pumped into them as they take forever to put out new games, it's explainable by a few things. I don't think the people working in these studios are actually in love with their jobs anymore. They aren't the autistic gaming nerds who couldn't get it out of their heads until the game was finished. They aren't people like that. Too often these studios are littered with HR ladies and the communist activist types who are just super lazy and don't actually care about the work they do. For them, it's just a job, and it shows. 7 years for development is wild in a world where development tools have been upgraded so much. And then, when you add in the fact that games that do eventually get made are often designed at the expense of gamers, trying to subvert them with progressive slopaganda rather than being made for them, well, it's not hard to see why the industry is deflating so rapidly. Most of these imbeciles deserve it. Anyhow, make sure to hit the like button on this.
Self-a-bish! You're gay!
You're gay.